human beings always try to understand who they are from their past or where they came from. With regard to our attitude towards who we are as Americans, where we came from, that there is immigrants here who come here are here for a reason, and mostly it's because of a difficult life. America is the hope, the hopeful opportunity.
And welcome to the podcast, the Theater of Philadelphia, the podcast, our new podcast we're starting. We're very excited to meet our guests in the studio. Today, we are going to Interact Theater Company to talk about the production SENG'S Hair Salon by Saymoukda, Duangphouxay, Vongsay. I hope I said that correctly. I am here with one of the title actor in the show, Lydia Gaston, who is playing Seng. And Lydia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Daniel. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to have you here. So we're here to talk about Seng's Hair Salon, but first, let's get to know Lydia. So tell us a little bit about Lydia Gaston.
I am Lydia Gaston. I am originally from the Philippines, but I've lived in New York since I was in my late teens. I have performed in Philadelphia before when I was a younger actor for a musical, but I've been mostly a New York actor. Also have raised my family in New York, and I still have family in the Philippines. And I have done maybe another play, 2 or 3 plays that deal with similar topics to Seng's Hair Salon, not Filipino, but of other Southeast Asian countries during this period that Seng's Hair Salon centers around.
Okay. And so Seng's Hair Salon is part of the Philly Cycle, which is a development program that Interact Theater Company is the lead in. When did you get involved in Seng's Hair Salon?
Last summer in August, I think they were having Interact was having a reading and mini workshop of it, but I was not able to be part of that because of my schedule. And the director of this play is Chong Ren Fan. He is a New York City director, and we know each other from there. So he had asked me for August. I said I couldn't, but another opportunity came in October. So that's when I was involved in it. We worked on it for, I think, about 5 days in October. And this time, aside from a table read, which is when we read it around the table, of course, analyzing the script, we were able to do some um, movement exploration and improvisation with Jung Woo, who is a local artist here in Philadelphia.
What was your first impression of this piece when you got involved in October or when you first read the script? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I always harken back to when I was growing up in the Philippines and how what was happening in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos was something that was a little bit far away, but still close to us. And that had its impact also on my parents and the way I was growing up, government change and all of that, a lot of upheaval. So I experienced that as a child. And now I get to analyze it now as an adult of what I wonder how my parents were feeling, the worry, the danger, and all of that.
Yeah, it is interesting to be young and hear about, what's going on in the world. And because of the way, a news source is sending that information, it just seems like a soundbite. And to a child or to someone who hasn't really studied it to a detail like our parents tend to do, really tune into the news to want to understand, like, where are they at risk, how they protect their family in a situation. It can seem so far away, just like you mentioned, these things were happening while you were growing up in the Philippines, and even though they were not at your doorstep, they were still hitting home.
Yes, and it's interesting because the writers of today, they're younger than me. So
Hmm.
they are, they're the next generation, and it's the way they're experiencing it as later generations here in the United States and what they've been told, I guess it's in the DNA, like it's part of the memory um of
Yeah. Yeah. When the family sends that message down to the
Mhm.
generations that come after them. It's interesting how much of that we take on, how much of that we carry forward with us. There's probably so much more that the generation before gave the writers, and they focused on the key moments that make up a story like this to heighten them as the most important to focus on.
Yeah, and, just, in a wider perspective, then you see what America is comprised of. All these various experiences that immigrants bring becomes part of the American experience.
Story. Yeah, yeah, and the story, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Where would we be without all of
Mm.
the diversity that has come from all over the world, the influences that move us every day?
Yeah.
So set the scene for Sing's hair salon. I know that in my culture, in African American culture, the barbershop or the salon is a place of holding court. It is a place to really hash out ideas and hear viewpoints about what's going on in the world. And it's so interesting to realize that that is pretty much the same. It's very similar in other cultures as well. But talk about this hair salon because as a production, you've had a unique experience of actually communicating with the salon that inspired this story in South Philly. Or how have you been able to communicate with them in the process of developing this piece?
I actually have not had a chance to go to the salon or meet, the family. I think in previous workshops last year, they did, make a trip there or and met the Sang family. I believe that Saymoukda visited many times, and apparently the family is very successful. In fact, the son has been staying in has now expanded to New York and having a business there. So,
Mm.
but as far as this, I do intend to visit, but I hear that I have to take either SEPTA or something to get I'm used to trains. I travel on trains all the time in New York, so I have to
Yeah.
make that trip. So I know that the salon is that culture, like where everyone there's a set time every what every month you go for a haircut or every other week you go for whatever. Sang talks a lot about how there's this hairstyle that works for all face shapes. And so um, that's her thing. She has regulars uh, and she thrives in the salon because for her it's a way of creating community, which she lost when she left Laos. So it's it is a chance for her to find people she things in common with, where they share histories, same histories, or they share the same tastes in hairstyles, in food, whatever entertainment they love, and also about family. She's very dedicated to her grandson, who she hopes will take over. And it also she mentions in the play that if her hair salon is gone, then all the other businesses that she's friends with will also disappear. So it's a magnet. It keeps people together. And I live in Brooklyn and I love my community in Brooklyn because that's how it feels like. That's what it feels like. Manhattan, not so much anymore. Philly, I haven't really gone out, but I hear that there are these tight neighborhoods, which
Mhm.
I like about the East Coast, actually.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually interesting the power of sort of a service business, whether it's a mini market or a hair salon or a barbershop, even if it's a place that you walk by every day and maybe you don't actually go in, it is a part of your life. And if something happened to it or you found out it closed or it changed ownership, that would be something that you would acknowledge and know. It is interesting, especially here in Philly. There are corner markets, in every neighborhood, and it's never really clear how many people are impacted by the location of that market and how it benefits them. If you're somebody who doesn't have like an issue going, across town to wherever you need to go to get what you need. But the value of the space is known. And it's always interesting. It's a family dynamic to say, I know that the matriarch started this salon, but if it doesn't carry on, everything, the community that was built around it comes into a
Yeah,
conflict. Not
and
conflict, but like, yeah,
yeah, and the fact that you see people grow up in the neighborhood, people grow old in the neighborhood. So it's like an anchor, It's human beings, I think, like predictability. We feel secure with things being where they are. And for a family who lost a lot in their old country, it's very important.
yeah. So take us into the rehearsal room. What is it like in there? What is the conversation around the piece that you are bringing to life? What is that like in the room?
When in October, we read the play for several days and talked about relationships between characters, and then we got up on our feet and explored physically the characters dealing with the spirit that seems to still hover around their lives. And for this phase, the playwright was here for the first week. She's from Minneapolis. She was here for the first week. We analyzed the script again because it had been rewritten slightly, not drastically. The scenes in the play are divided into a a week, like, so consecutive days from Sunday to the next week. And so we went through those scenes in order mostly, and some of the scenes are more realistic scenes and other scenes are more abstract, and it doesn't have the realistic portrayal because we're dealing with another being that's not physically there.
Mm.
So there was a lot of we aside from rehearsing lines and knowing blocking, then we again explored physical movement and contact improv, stuff like that. Compared to the October workshop where we were not dealing with a set, we were able to move around much easier, more easily. However, now with dealing with a set and props, that also changed our physicality.
Now that you're working with the set and now that you've seen the set, does the set remind you of a salon that you've been to?
Yeah, especially they've been building the set slowly because there's so many elements to it. So yesterday they put up it became even more real because they put up these magazine clippings on the wall with mostly it would be from Seng's heyday period, which was the 80s. So there were a lot of 80s hairstyles on there, which brought me back to my time when I was in my late 20s.
Have you through your life had any sort of adventurous hairstyles, whether in your personal life or on stage?
It wasn't much because actually in the East there was that punk hairstyle with spiky hair. So I kind of did because this might sound boring, but I was a ballerina, so I always had my hair in a ponytail or a bun or tight, like
Mhm.
very conservative. And then I was hired by a modern dance company and they looked at me and really wanted to do a makeover on me. So they encouraged me to be more daring, and that's how the spiky bangs, the gel and all that. I haven't done that long.
How did it make you feel to have that hairstyle? Did you feel more in touch with with the portrayal that they were looking for? Did it make you feel like you weren't in your body?
You mean when I was in my 20s?
Yeah, in that punk phase.
Yeah, it was a new look, and it was helpful because I was no longer like it was helpful for the style that I was now immersing myself in, which was not on point in a tutu and pink tights. It was the complete opposite, very down to earth and well, sometimes being cool, So
It's interesting. I imagine, being a consistently working actor that your personal look, unless you're going out to an event, is probably kind of, like, simple,
Yes.
because you're always being dressed up into a character that you're becoming.
A lot of actors these days dress up for self-tapes, for auditions
Mhm.
at home. Ever since
Yeah.
COVID, we got really good at that. Uh,
Mhm. Are there moments in this piece that stand out more for you, or is there a scene that you like the most? Like, what part of Sing's hair salon kind of sticks with you more?
well, overall, there are quite a few scenes where Sang with when Seng interacts with her daughter and her grandson that I just feel I'm doing myself, who I am in real life, because I sound like a wife and a mother, which is what my life is. And so that's pretty, I should say easy, but also like sometimes I even try to pull back because they might be shocked at how horrible I am to my kids. But I guess what stands out really is that there are 2 or 3 moments in the play where she does go back to her memory of how it was when the 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 dangerous journey that they had to get here. And also she has I don't wanna say too much about the play, uh, and spill it all out, and also that she goes to the temple and consults with the monk there to figure out what to do. I was just talking to one of the cast members, and she is a Philadelphia actor.
Bijanra?
Yes, because she recently went back home and, we were comparing Vietnam and the Philippines, and I think for me, the big difference between, for example, Vietnam, Laos, and the Philippines is a very Catholic country, and for the other Southeast Asian countries, like Vietnam and Laos, they're still very even though they are agnostic, but the just the attitude towards life is the Buddhism still influences their lives. And so that's a main difference, I think, that for Sang, she contemplates, she has those guilt feelings, but the outlook is kind of similar. There's the guilt, just like Catholics, the way to analyze it, the way to come toward to the way she confronts it is very different than I would say than if you're not Buddhist.
What do as you're going through this process, like, what do you hope an audience takes from this? Because we're, Philadelphians and people in the region. Like, what do you hope they walk away knowing or understanding more about the cultures expressed in Sing's hair salon?
I had a good analysis a few days ago, and now I'm having difficulty articulating it to you. But I think each no matter whether you grew up in this country or you came here from somewhere else, there will always be conflicting histories for yourself. Like uh, and I think human beings always try to understand who they are from their past or where they came from. I guess that's just human instinct. I don't know of a person who's not interested of where they came from. It's human instinct, I guess. But also that with regard to our attitude towards who we are as Americans, where we came from, that there is immigrants here who come here are here for a reason, and mostly it's because of a difficult life. So America is the hopeful opportunity. And so the way I see it is that it would be to encourage for us to go back there, to be the hopeful place again.
Yeah. To be curious of your roots enough to, visit and understand where you came from. I mean, that is sort of, a general thing that's good for all of us to take away. Yeah. And whenever we're experiencing a story, from a culture that's not our own, like, our interest should be piqued. We should be curious to know how the similarities and the differences bring us together, or how they brought us together. And that's why pieces like this are so valuable. If this isn't my life, I'm not saying that from the door that I don't have a way into this work.
Mhm.
I'm gonna come and see the show and experience the story that's being put out in front of me and then draw comparisons to my own life after I've processed it all. It's a journey.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a journey. We're gonna explore this world and then see where we are on the other side of it.
Yeah. The other day, I was just walking outside here in front of the street where I'm on, and I someone passed me by and did like gibberish Chinese to me, and I didn't realize what it was. And then I thought, oh God, that is so, I haven't heard that in 20 years, someone making fun of me. It just
Mhm.
hasn't happened. And I thought, that is so passe. Like, no,
Yeah.
no one has done that to me. Like,
It's as if you were surprised that someone was different than
yeah,
you
like
and
these
needed
days, are
to
you
needed
still,
to acknowledge that in such a negative
yeah,
way.
like,
Yeah.
don't you, am I the first Asian person you see on the street?
Mhm. Yeah. People do things because they for some kind of attention. It's always seems kinda weird that if you're just trying to get attention, like, why does it have to be negative?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You coulda said hello, and that would have,
yeah,
gotten
yeah,
attention. You could
yeah,
been nice to reply to that. Yeah, it is interesting, like, what prompts people and their ignorance, and it does feel like people like to be provoked, and so sometimes when you hear things like that, you just sort of shrug it off, and it's not fair that you have to shrug it off, but in order to avoid, the provocation that they are seeking, you have to be better.
yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah,
it is unfortunate that we have to do that work on behalf of people who need to do the work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this production. I already have my tickets. I cannot wait to, experience it and to be in the room and get a sense of culture, in that space, and then see how, I can draw similar comparisons to, my cultural path and experience as well. Lydia, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you.
Everyone, the production is Sing's Hair Salon. It is by Saymoukda Duangphouxay Vongsay. I really hope I said that right. It is on stage. It is on stage now through May 10th. So you can get your tickets at Interact Theater. That's theaterre.org. Lydia Gaston, thank you so much for taking the time to let us get to know a little bit about you and to talk about the journey that brought Sing's Hair Salon to the stage. We can't wait to be in that space to experience all the work that you've all done. And thank you so much to be a part of this conversation. And Lydia Gaston, thank you so much for taking the time. It was truly a pleasure.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you.